in April 2003 under the platform of the All People's Party ANPP. He served under the House Committee on Police, Water Resources, Marine Transport, Works, as well as House Committee on Aviation, where he served as deputy. He has now mounted the podium ready for the days for the screening.
Senator Oba, can you get back to your seat? Go back to your seat, Senator Oba. Mr. President, the chamber is ready.
Distinguished colleagues, we have the next nominee, Senator Hadi Sirika, the nominee from Katsina State. The immediate past Minister of Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, you are welcome. On behalf of my colleagues, I want to welcome you to the Senate chamber. We are in receipt of your CV. We all have copies, but you can still highlight those things in the CV that you feel very strongly about that could be of help to the Senate in this process of screening. You could also let the Senate know if there is anything outside of your CV but are so important for the purpose of this exercise. Once again, you are welcome to the Senate chamber and you can address the Senate.
Your Excellency, the Senate President and Chairman of the National Assembly, and of course Chairman of this session, my very ranking friend and brother in the National Assembly business. We were once in the Green Chamber together. Your Excellency, my brother and friend, Ovie Omo Agege, Excellency, Deputy Senate President of this Federal Republic, the entire leadership of this hallowed chamber, and distinguished senators, in particular, Senators Ahmadu Baba Keita, my friend and cousin, representing Katsina North Senatorial District, Senator Bello Mandia, my long-standing friend, representing Katsina South, and of course, distinguished Senator Engineer Kabiru Abdullahi Barkia, our elder in the state representing Katsina Central. Your Excellency, Mr. President, please permit me to say thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for making this a second time and for giving us the opportunity to once again be appointed by His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari to serve our country in this capacity, provided that we are able to pass through this screening exercise. Your Excellency, I stand here with some nostalgia, having been in this chamber, earlier on having been in the other yet vibrant green chamber before here. I'm not too sure if there's anything in my CV for this particular exercise that I must highlight. To say that all of my character and content and conduct have been long deposited in this National Assembly. And I had the privilege and opportunity to debate, to interact, to communicate, to discuss, to be together and share banters with most of us here. However, Excellency, I would not conclude without thanking this particular chamber. Once I was in charge of aviation as Minister of State, Aviation in the Ministry of Transportation. I had a course to take a decision to close the only runway that we have here in Abuja. That didn't go down well with many people, including professionals, technocrats, politicians. And as true speakers, on behalf of the Nigerian people and the custodian of the law of the land and the makers of these laws of land that we follow, you had the wisdom to invite me 3 times and for a record 9 hours to discuss and iron out those concerns to close that single runway for all of the consequences that were then anticipated. However, through your guidance and through those exercises, we were able to together see the end of that project on time and on budget. It was quite challenging because we needed the understanding of the National Assembly at the time. It was doctrine of necessity. It wasn't budgeted earlier on. It has to pass through legislative budget at the time, and it was passed, and we were able to deliver that project. Second comment, which is the last comment, Your Excellency, is that through the experience I had in the last dispensation, I think there may be a need to reconsider the Public Procurement Act. The exercise is very cumbersome, tedious, time-taking, and honestly very difficult for the executive to operate. You spend about 1.5 years in an attempt to make procurement. And the intent of the law is very good. It is to have value for money. It is to ensure transparency. It is to ensure accountability. It is my humble opinion that all of this can be achieved if the laws are reviewed, because having consideration of the fact that it's a 4-year tenure, and if you spend 1 year or 1.5 years trying to procure, it will be extremely difficult for you to perform. Notwithstanding, however, in my capacity at the time, we embarked upon 157 projects, out of which 134 were 100% successfully completed, thanks to committees of National Assembly for their oversight and support. Your Excellency, I'd like to stop here to thank you for the opportunity to say a word or two, and also to thank all of other distinguished senators that are here present, including but not limited to, of course, my good friend Emmanuel Baocha, who decides not to call me on the telephone until when he's sure. Very seriously, Your Excellency, he gives me phone calls to explain to me the antics of his party, to which I'm always ready to deal with. But this is outside chamber, Your Excellency. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, all of us have the CV of the nominee, and of course it's very obvious that he was a member of the House of Representatives from 2003 to 2007 and a senator here for a tenure. I believe that we all understand that in a given situation like this, the minority leader will speak for the Senate, and then the Senate leader wraps it up for the Senate. Minority leader speak for the Senate.
Thank you very much, Mr. President of the Senate, sitting as the chair. My name is Engineer Baribe Abia South. Hadi is our own. And so we have, we are very, very glad that he is here with us and going back as our donation to the executive arm. On this note of speaking for the Senate, in order to ask Hadi to take the privileges that follow as a member of this hallowed chamber, I would like to ask Hadi that Enugu Airport, I don't know what happened. They took away the generator, so nobody lands there at night. So while you're taking a bow and go, please look, remember the generators and everything that happened in Enugu Airport. Thank you very much. Plus the runway. In the same manner that you expeditiously dealt with Abuja, we would like that an international airport like Enugu Airport is also expeditiously dealt with. On that note, I will yield to the majority leader to wrap up these proceedings.
Senate Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I rise to concur with the conclusions, including that asking for some respite for Enugu Airport. Yes. I concur with the conclusions of the minority leader on this matter. But I would like to add that Senator Hadi Sirika has been one of the donations of the National Assembly to the executive arm of government who has done us proud. I could still recall when he came before this Senate, when almost the entire Senate I knew before coming into session was opposed to the closure of the runway for obvious reasons. Because a lot of our members, have to have access to Abuja and they could do it only by air. The closure of that airport at that point in time was something that was very unpopular. And it took him, like he said, about 9 hours for him to convince at least half of us to agree. I know by the time we finished the consideration, nearly a third of the senators were still not convinced, but at least he gave us a hope and a latitude to give him the benefit of the doubt that he could do it within the time period that he stipulated, and he was able to deliver. These are the kind of people that we want in the executive arm of government who will give their words and honor it. And Senator Hadi Sirika has been here the last time with us. We have seen his performance on the ground. I will still appeal, in addition to the appeals that have been made by the minority leader, for Senator Hadi Sirika still consider moving forward to see the possibility of creating a national air carrier for this country, so that the status of this country as the biggest and the most richest nation in Africa, could be projected overseas. With this, Mr. President, I will urge my colleagues to kindly allow Senator Hadi Sirika to take a bow.
Thank you very much, Senate Leader. Before the nominee takes a bow, let me remark, and in this remark, I want to reiterate a remark by Senator Opeyemi Bamidele on the need for the two arms of government to work in such a manner that bills passed are bills assented to. About 7 or 8 of you nominees have this background of National Assembly membership. We will task you that your presence there should help, should assist in ensuring that we have a smoother process, a better process that will ensure that bills passed by the National Assembly are assented to. I don't know what the process will be, but it is a necessity. National Assembly puts in a lot of resources in terms of time and the limited resources available to us, and the executive too puts in some resources because maybe Office of the Attorney General takes a review, or the appropriate agency or Ministry of Government takes a review. And if at the end of the day the bills are not assented to, that will be a huge loss of resources. So we need to have a mechanism. Those of you who have National Assembly backgrounds have the task to ensure that people who may be ministers or agencies of government understand the basis. Many of the MDS, the chief executive officers of the MDS, could be selfish. In the process of ensuring that agencies of government are made to perform better, the heads of such agencies will go and undermine the bills because they think they'll be losing power. I think there is need for us to work together so that we pass bills, we get them assented to, and we make governance better for the people of this country. With these remarks, let me thank my colleagues for the understanding and, of course, congratulate you for the wonderful performance as a Minister, State Aviation, and we hope and pray for you that you do even better when you are appointed either to aviation or indeed any part of government. Is this the view of the Senate, that the nominee takes a bow and go? Yes. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You can take a bow.